Okay, you are live.
All right, great. Welcome to the House Environment Committee. This afternoon, we've been discussing H 230 and a possible amendment to it. We have our legislative counsel with us to help us understand this new information that we've been sent.
Good afternoon. This is Michael Grady. I'm working off the House calendar from today, if that's okay with everyone, and I'd be on page 2184 in section 8. And this is the section related to transportation, possession, and stocking of wildlife. Now, remember when this was first introduced, it was largely about the importation of reptiles or amphibians, and you made some changes in section 7, which kind of superseded at least one subsection in section 8.
Remind us what that was. That one addressed.
Pardon me?
Can you remind us what that one was? Because we removed it.
So the one that I think you need to remove is subsection E.
I know, but I was asking to remind me what the one we did remove was. That I just can't remember, but I can go back.
It was related to the commercial taking of reptiles and amphibians. And you have moved that into section 6 at this point. The collection reptiles and amphibians for commercial purpose. And that's now under section 6. And there were questions in section the remaining section 8, subsection E, where it says a person shall not take, collect, possess, sell, import, or export any wild bird or animal or parts thereof, dead or alive, for commercial purposes unless authorized by statute, the rules of the board, rules of the commissioner, or a permit from the commissioner. There was a question raised about how broad of an application that would be, and would it limit activity that is ongoing today and authorized? My response was, well, if it's authorized by statute, rules of the board, rules of the commissioner, or a permit from the commissioner. But there were questions about how broad it was going to be. There were questions about, could you use bird feathers for fishing lures, sell bird feathers for fishing lures? And the response to that is, it depends on the bird. Because the Migratory Bird Treaty Act doesn't allow you to do that, and that the requirements of that are built into Vermont's rules. But those birds that aren't covered by the Migratory Bird Treaty Act, you could sell their feathers. So there's not an easy answer to any of those questions. And because of that, the department this morning in Senate Natural Resources came in and asked to remove subsection E. They said they don't think it's necessary. They think it's redundant. It raises questions, and they would prefer that it not be in the bill. And so subsection E would be appropriate to take out. The rest of the changes in section 8 relating to the penalties being big game violation, the commissioner bringing the action in the criminal division of the Superior Court, I think they can remain, but the department has asked for subsection E in section 8 to be removed.
Representative Sacklin.
Michael, as I'm looking at subsections F and G, it looks like those are both also specifically related to commercial trade. So were they put in here as, to go along with subsection E?
Now they're in here. The department already has adopted a rule under this section regarding commercial import and trade. You need a commercial license in order to import wildlife for sale in the state. Pet dealers get it, other persons that are bringing it in. So they want to clarify what the penalties are underneath this section, including the rule that they've already adopted. So it's not just about what's in E, it's about this entire section and the rule adopted under this section.
Members have questions?
And I want to clarify that the penalty in F is not just about commercial activity. It's you are going to, anybody that violates the section is subject to big game. And then there's an additional penalty It's common in environmental law that if you commercially benefit from a violation of environmental law, your penalty may include an enhancement based on what your commercial gain was. You don't get to violate the law, pay a modest penalty, and then walk away with your big so economic benefit. So that's always been something that's basically considered an environmental law violations.
Representative North.
I just would like a little clarification on who is requesting these changes and specifically what change did they request?
The Department of Fish and Wildlife this morning testified in Senate Natural Resources to requesting to remove subsection E.
Why didn't they come to us?
I don't know.
We don't have. Okay, and that was the only change because previously we had heard there have been.
Oh, no, they asked to remove intentionally.
Yeah.
And they asked for,
So can we see like what are the changes? This is just coming to us verbally. Is there something written that we can all look at?
well, the thing is, I'm not the one that proposed the changes.
Just ask them if they could come, but it's short notice. Representative Barthol.
Since we don't have possession of the bill and we're so far along, why can't we just pass it out of the House and let the Senate to do what they have been asked to do?
Yes,
I agree.
could do that. Representative Tagliavia.
Question and then maybe just a comment. If it looks like the Senate is looking at taking this out in the interest of actually getting this bill moved faster, if we were to take it out and have our bill more in line with the Senate, wouldn't that move it along faster, number one?
I think that's why I decided to try to have this conversation, awkward as it is.
Number two, apparently from the information I have, is the sale of sheds could be a problem if this remains in here, shed antlers. And that was a.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard a lot of speculation. Like, can I sell a squirrel's tail for a fishing lure? You're not supposed to sell a squirrel, period. Live or dead, parts or otherwise. But so it really depends on the species and the purpose for which it's going to be used. Like you can sell some bear parts, but you can't sell the gall and you can't sell the paw. And so it depends. So that's why it says unless authorized by rule or the board. So if you can pick up antlers and you can sell them, well, I guess their argument is because there isn't anything that specifically says you can sell a shed antler. That's probably the best example I've heard so far.
Whose argument?
Hmm?
Whose argument?
The people that I've heard raise this argument.
Yeah, so I think what I heard that was compelling was just sort of, I guess, unintended consequences, but since often what happens, a bill gets through the House and they do go to the Senate with some other realizations. That's why we have a bicameral system. And so that's where we are right now.
I'm just wondering, how did the Senate get the bill?
They're just looking at the language.
Oh, okay, thank you. So they can do all this without it passing through the House and going to them?
Look at language, yeah.
I mean, yeah, they're just looking at the language. They're not in possession of 230, obviously, yet.
So they're just asking?
They're not asking us anything. We are considering whether we want to make an amendment to remove section E. That's all we're talking about right now. Doesn't matter what they're doing. Representative Bartholomew.
It feels to me without any direct testimony to this committee that we should just leave this alone. It's basically hearsay, reliable hearsay, but hearsay all the same. We don't have any testimony suggesting we take this up.
Other thoughts? Representative Chapin.
Yeah, this feels like a very awkward process, and if we had more time, like we weren't on the floor until afternoon, and we had time to take some testimonies tomorrow morning, I think it would make more sense. I'm just not clear about what the potential unintended consequences are and how concerning they are, and I don't have the people that I really need to ask that question, and so I would, and clearly the Senate is gonna get, is already getting testimony on this and will thus consider it, so I feel confident it will get consideration and it'll come back to us also, but not in a form that, anyway, I agree, I would really prefer not to make an action on this with only talking with legislative council.
Other thoughts?
How are we going to address Richard Nelson's and compensation for crop damage?
I think he's satisfied.
He's okay with it.
Yeah, he said he was okay on the floor. Representative
I'll
Bartholomew.
also point out that it seems really unlikely, given our beloved Senate, that it would come back without other changes anyway.
All right. With that, Michael is scheduled in the House Ag Committee and he,
Thanks.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks for coming back and having this conversation. I'm hearing that we do not want to move forward with an amendment. Anyone feeling differently? Representative Tagliavia.
I just think, like I said before, we can concur with what it looks like the Senate is doing. It just makes it move faster.
We have no testimony.
The Senate's doing it regardless.
Yeah.
They're doing it already. So by the time we get it over to them.
And we can, and so, yes, if we get the language back, we will have had time. We will have had time to take testimony. All right. Any further comments before we adjourn?
So the process is here, correct me if I'm wrong. My perception is that we're gonna leave it as is, we're gonna try to vote it out tomorrow at third reading. It's not gonna go well. But it'll pass, go to the Senate, and then they're gonna perhaps remove that from testimony that they've taken. Then it would come back to us,
Adjust it, they could fix it.
and then it would come back to us for concurrence.
Yeah, the consideration of whatever changes they make. Yeah. Representative Jacobs.
Sorry to interrupt. More, I
I
just
get
wanna make
interrupted
the-
often, so don't,
Me too, but anyway,
I just.
sorry to
did.
interrupt. So I will just make my point, which is that as you were speaking, it occurred to me that they could actually keep section E and improve upon it and send us something back that actually both does some of the good parts of E and protects against unintended consequences. And so wouldn't we like to leave that option on the table rather than just pull this language and send them without it? Anyway, so that's just my realization. It's like, this is why we actually take the time to take the testimony and have enough time to really contemplate. They'll do that and expect they'll do that in the sense of.
Representative LaRoche.
Fine either way with this. But I thought that we were taking out the entire section 8, which was a big problem for me, right? Because of all the disease issues around the country, all the importation issues that we have. The section here, I do believe probably is all covered in rules already. And so leaving it in, taking it out, 6 1/2 dozen, I'll vote for the bill either way.
Thank you for that.
And I saw this bill before it came into appropriations when I was there, but I voted in favor of the bill. Now, I thought it did a good job in moving the pay for bear and crop damage. That's been a thorn in the side of Fish and Wildlife for many, many years because it's coming out of the fund, the Fish and Game Fund. Those dollars are leveraging federal dollars. So $200,000 is potentially $800,000, right? So it's a good thing, and I would even support crop damage if it came out of the general fund. I told the member that was concerned that if agriculture wanted to have something and have an insurance fund of some sort that came out of the federal, of the general fund, that'd be fine. The issue is paying for it with licensed dollars.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me in.
Yeah, thank you.
Representative Bartholomew.
It's sad that if this comes up again tomorrow, You might say that on the floor.
I will. I'd be glad to speak in support of the bill and for either one of these reasons, so.
Right, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Further comments from members?